hear me carefully. It matters. The crisis did matter in the old season, but it is not what is going to cause you to see fully into the new season. So what he says to them here, he says, notice what he says, as he drew near to them, he went with them, verse 15. Verse 16 says, their eyes were restrained so that they didn't know him. Now underline that verse. Going into this new season, you do not want your eyes restrained based upon your trauma from the last season. If you do not allow the Spirit of God to deal with you, you will have restrained vision from the last season. So I love what the Lord does here. Verse 17, he said, what kind of conversation is this that you're having with one another as you walk and are sad? Verse 18, then the one whose name was Cleopas answered unto him, are you the only one that doesn't know what we've been going through? See, now you could think the same thing going into the season. Lord, are you the only one that doesn't know the mess I went through in this last season? Are you the only one that doesn't get what I went through as I made it, struggled through the last season, and all the heartbreak and everything I thought that would happen that didn't happen, and here we are now, we're just getting out of town. See, you can be like that. And so I love what the Lord says to him in verse 19. He said, what things? Why don't you tell me your perspective from your mess in the last season? They began to pour their guts out. They began to lay it out. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, going into this new season, that is not going to bother him that you do that. Matter of fact, he's asking you because he's more interested in you getting into seeing in your new place. Tell me how and what you went through in this past season, and let me listen to it so I can help you work your way in to what I want you to see in the next season. And so they poured out to him. I love this. They're telling him what they were hoping and how things turned out. Verse 22, they said, yes, and certain women of our company who arrived at the tomb early astonished us. When they didn't find his body, they kept saying that they had also had a vision of angels who said he was alive. And hear me carefully. Going into this season, God is going to send certain people to you who are already seeing. Going into this season, God is going to send people to you that are already seeing and perceiving correctly. But then certain of those who were with us went to the tomb, the men, and found it just as the women had said. But underline this last little phrase in verse 24. But they didn't see. In other words, the girls tapped in, but the guys who went, they couldn't perceive what was going on. Now hear what I'm saying to you people. We are at a different season. God will send someone to you to say, I've already seen into a realm of what's going to be happening. But here's the real issue. They didn't believe what the women said. Their eyes were restrained. They didn't believe those who came to them, who were already seeing. So what they did, they relied upon the ones they had been walking with in the last season who weren't seeing. And what it had done was the unbelief from those had caught them and they were not seeing. Now hear me carefully. These next 2 months, we're in a faith crisis. These next 2 months, we're in a faith crisis. God is going to send certain people into your path that will speak something to you that will give you an opportunity to see your future. If you are so aligned with your trauma and the loss of your past season, you'll miss what God is saying to you in your next season. Now notice what happens here, because the Lord is so long-suffering. He finally says to them, "O foolish ones, slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Art not the Christ to have suffered and then enter into his glory?" In other words, you have known the word enough that you should have figured this out. But your emotions have gotten so caught up, the word itself could not open your eyes. And then he began to tell them all about what had gone on in their faith lineage to get them to where they were today. In other words, here's your history. This is how I've been walking right along with you all through the season, all through the last seasons, and the Word could have uncovered what you were going through, but the trauma was so great you couldn't see it in the Word. Let me explain it to you. And as they drew near to the village, he indicated that he was just going to keep going. Now, this is very important for you. But they constrained him, saying, "Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent." He went in to sit with them, and it came to pass, as he sat at the table with them, he broke bread, blessed it, broke it, gave it to them, and their eyes were opened and knew it. This is what all of a sudden, when he started speaking to them, all of a sudden they said, "Stay with us, abide with us." Now hear me carefully. Going in to this season, there are places that God has already ordained where he is going to come down and abide. And I don't mean just visit. I mean abide with the people as they come together. Get ready. This is one of those places. And the move of God in this place will be different than any you have seen last seasons. Let me say something here. And the Lord would say, "I've been refining the sound of this place." And I say, because the sound has been in refinement, I say now I will begin to bring forth a creative sound that will produce manifested miracles in the place. Good. I say to you, I am going to start moving in a new way, and I will come down with a tangible glory in this place. Yeah. I say that tangible glory will be transferred through the airways. The airways are connected to this place. I say to you, now the faith crisis intensifies, but know this, the freedom in the atmosphere will become great, and from the greatness of the freedom in the atmosphere, you will see manifestations that you were even blinded to in the last season. Woo. I say I will bring many into this place, and it will be recorded and broadcast, the miraculous happenings that occur. I say we'll come to this place because this place will stand, right, and from the shaking a greater glory will be seen.